The Associated Press reports carrying the news of Mary White's death declared that it came from the result of a fall from a horse. How she would have hooted at that. She never fell from a horse in her life. Horses have fallen on her and with her. I'm always trying to hold them in my lap, she used to say. But she was proud of few things, and one of them was that she could ride anything that had 4 legs and hair. The last hour of her life was typical of its happiness. She came home from a day's work at school, topped off by a hard grind with the copy on the high school annual, and felt that a ride would refresh her. She climbed into her khakis, chattering to her mother about the work she was doing, and hurried to get her horse and be out on the dirt roads for the country air and the radiant green fields of spring. As she rode through the town on an easy gallop, she kept waving at passers-by. She knew everyone in town. For a decade, the little figure in the long pigtail and the red hair ribbon had been familiar on the streets of Emporia, and she got in the way of speaking to those who nodded at her.
Mary! Mary!
I know there's no way to accept the death of a beloved child, but the irony of Mary's accident, the awful irony of her being killed when she was going so slowly. A year ago, she used to ride like the wind. Being the warm-hearted girl she was, she tried to share her joy with her friend Selena. I sometimes thought the prairies had been made just for her.
Riding with you anymore. Don't be mad. I'm just not as brave as you.
That's silly. You're braver. It takes more courage to do what you're afraid of than to do what you enjoy.
I never thought of it that way. Is that why you do all the things you do? To prove that you're brave, I mean.
I don't know. It's part of it, I guess. It's just that I can't stand the sham. I hate hearing people lie.
Well, maybe they think they're telling the truth.
It's like there's something inside of me that wants to change things, fix things, so that when I die, people will know I was here.
They will. You're William Allen White's daughter.
That's what makes it so hard. Come on, let's go, Selena. I got an idea. Come on. You've got a pretty good seat. Your only problem is you're afraid to let go.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, I'll show you. Close your eyes.
What for?
Never mind what for, just do it. Now, try to imagine that you and your horse are one person, that his legs are your legs. You wouldn't be afraid to run as fast as you can on your own legs, would you?
No.
Okay, now, imagine yourself running. The wind is hitting your face. You're a giant. You can cover the whole earth in one day. You're free. Okay, now open your eyes and let's ride. Now squeeze with your knees, not with the stirrups. Good. Come on. Okay. Now let's ride.
Some people in Emporia who weren't too happy with me said I spoiled its small-town flavor with all my famous visitors. But they still enjoyed it when Teddy Roosevelt and Calvin Coolidge came to call. This time, my illustrious guest was Jane Addams, the founder of Hull House. Now, Mary couldn't wait to meet Jane, and she barely made it, as usual.
See, I'm early.
You certainly don't expect to meet Miss Addams looking like that, do you?
Why not? Of all the people in the world, Jane Addams is the last person to care about clothes, isn't that right?
Well, if she doesn't, I do.
Here she comes.
Here she comes!
Yes.
I had visited Jane Addams several times in Chicago since the opening of Hull House. She had worked and dreamed of a settlement house for many years. A place where needy families, delinquent youngsters, and the foreign-born could come for help in dealing with a world that had dealt harshly with them. Hull House was that dream come true. As she went on to become president of the International Women's Congress, my admiration for her deepened. And over the years, she, Sally, and I had become dear friends.
I don't see her.
There she is.
Jane!
How do you do it?
You don't look a day older. I swear you look just as young as you did when you opened Hull House.
Oh, well, I've never known you to lie, and don't start now. It's you who never looks a day older.
It's wonderful to see you.
And we look several days older. Oh, Jane, this is our daughter, Mary. You know, Will, she does look like Peter Pan. I've been looking forward to meeting you and your brother.
Bill's away at Harvard. If you'll please excuse me, I just thought of something I have to do right away. I'll see you all at home.
Mary?
Did I say something wrong? No, it's nothing. Don't worry about it.
Well, shall we go?
Did you have a nice trip, Jane?
I knew Mary didn't like Jane Addams saying she looked like Peter Pan, and it was my fault. I was the one who always talked about my daughter that way, and Mary always resented it. Like all children, she felt she was grown up by the time she could walk. You see, Jane, that's why I particularly wanted you to come to Emporia now. This is the real heartland of the United States, not the big cities filled with those idiots who have been seeing reds under every bed.
Well, I'm sure you're right, Will, but I'm going back to Europe. I feel more comfortable there. You seen this? That is being distributed by a group called the Sentinels of the Republic.
Is that the group which called you the most dangerous woman in America?
No, that was Mr. R.A. Gum of the American Protective League. The funniest thing that's happened is that I've been denounced by the Daughters of the American Revolution. Can you imagine their embarrassment when they found out that I've been a member for more than 20 years?
I don't understand. Why are they doing this to you?
I suppose because I represent change, Mary. And change is very threatening to people.
Mrs. White, supper's ready.
Thank you, Martha.
Well, it'll blow over. We're all a bunch of hotheads in this country, but our bark is worse than our bite.
They may forget about the colleges and the intellectuals, but I'm not so sure about the women's organizations.
Oh, I hope you're wrong.
You managed to take a small-town newspaper. Through the sheer brilliance of the editorials, have made yourself a voice to be reckoned with right across the country. And do you think that could have happened if you'd been a woman?
Maybe not.
That's why I'm so apprehensive. The hysteria is even beginning to affect Hull House.
You can't let that happen. There's so much further to go. There's the double standard, the terrible clothes women have to wear, the way smart women like you are attacked. If you let them run you out of the country...
Mary, please. Miss Addams has come here for a moment of peace.
That's all right. You're quite right, Mary. It's just that when you fought so many battles, you tire temporarily.
But you'll be back.
I'm afraid I will.
There's so much I want to do.
Well, start.
Here?
You've had the misfortune to be born into a family of reformers. You'll find something.
Would you write something in my copy of 20 Years at Hull House?
certainly.
It's a little battered, isn't it?
There you are.
To Mary, who will learn that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Jane Addams.
That's the hard part, learning to accept that. I was just like you.
Sally.
Wanted to change the world overnight. Suppose I still do, but it can't be done.
I'll never be like you. I have no patience. When I see stupid people doing stupid things, I want to hit them.
Jane Addams represented Mary's humanitarian side. But no matter how concerned she was for others, she never stopped being a happy, friendly schoolgirl, sharing her car. I guess I did do a lot of protesting about the benefits of walking. But I did it mainly to escape her offers to drive me in that car. Her car was her social life. She never had a party in all her nearly 17 years, wouldn't have one. But she never drove a block in her life that she didn't begin to fill the car with pickups. Everybody rode with Mary White. She liked nothing better than to fill the car with long-legged high school boys and an occasional girl and parade the town. She never had a date or went to a dance, except once with her brother Bill, and the boy proposition didn't interest her. Yet. But young people gave her great pleasure.
Okay, end of the line, everybody out. Thanks for running, Mary.
Thanks
Sure.
for the ride.
See you later. Yeah. Bye.
Bye, Mary. Thanks.
Bye. Todd, that means you too.
I'm not moving until you tell me if you go to the spring dance with me.
Suit yourself.
Don't tell me he's at it again. Doesn't that dope ever learn?
What's the matter, huh? I bet I could ask any other girl in this town and she'd jump at the chance.
That's exactly what's the matter.
Since when is it bad to be popular?
Why is it so important, then, that I say yes? I can think of 10 other girls that would be walking on clouds if you asked them. I'm not even your type.
Well, you're different.
You bet I'm different. I'm William Allen White's daughter.
Well, what's that got to do with it?
Isn't he the local celebrity? Don't I walk in his reflected glory?
Well, that's not the reason.
Oh, well, is it my beautiful golden curls?
Forget it. Just forget I even asked you, huh?
Are you crazy? I wish you'd asked me. Just tell him your father's a legitimate daughter.
You better not talk like that in front of my mother. She says you're a bad influence on me and Dad.
Then don't ride with me.
I didn't say it. My mother did. She just can't understand that you and your family are different from the rest of us.
For once, I agree with your mother. You really can't tell the White family from the rest of the lunatics around here.
I'd like to believe you, Mary, but you don't act like everybody else. Everybody else wouldn't turn down a bid to the prom by Todd Turner.
Bother Todd Turner.
I'm sorry.
You want to go riding after school?
If you slow down, I get scared riding that fast. Will you?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. She tried to conform. She did. But somehow her efforts were always just slightly askew.
Quiet down. Now, who can tell me what president succeeded Abraham Lincoln? Selena.
Andrew Johnson.
Correct. Good. And what action was taken against President Johnson that has never been taken before? Mary?
The House of Representatives voted articles of impeachment against him. But it was only because he wanted to carry out Lincoln's policy of lenient Reconstruction in the South.
Oh, that's a very broad assumption, Mary. I don't think your book mentions that connection.
But it's true. The Congress didn't care what the people wanted. They just cared about punishing the South. Look what happened in Russia. It led to revolution.
Yes, well, you may sit down, Mary.
Jane Addams says if we don't learn from history...
I said you may sit down.
Same thing's happening here. There'll be blood in the streets. Jane Addams is being persecuted just for trying to get women their rights.
I think we would prefer to listen to the wisdom of historians. Neither you nor Miss Addams can aspire to that title.
She's a great woman. You don't have any right to make fun of her.
That will do, Mary. You will leave your seat and present yourself to Mr. Andrews' office for discipline. You are being insubordinate.
It was only in that last year that Mary had begun to express herself with her pen. She discovered a talent for pen and ink drawing. And one of her proudest moments was when some of her sketches of school life were accepted for the annual. I know I was prejudiced, but I believe she had talent.
I don't think her legs are quite that thin, do you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's really quite good. Although I can't say I approve of your drawing. If your pictures are a liable clue, I'd say you and Miss Peabody have had a run-in.
She said to tell you I was insubordinate.
And were you?
Well, I don't think so, unless telling the truth is insubordinate.
Well, one person's truth can appear to be another person's lie. Did you contradict her?
I just said that President Johnson was impeached because the Congress wanted to punish the South for the Civil War.
Well, that's an interesting theory. Is that all you said?
Almost. I just said that any unresponsive government would be responsible for blood running in the streets.
And how did you conclude that? Doesn't sound like your father.
I wasn't quoting my father. I wasn't quoting anybody.
Well, I'd be interested in how life in Emporia could have led you to such a dire conclusion. Is there something going on that I don't know about?
You know, Mr. Andrews, Emporia isn't the whole world. When Jane Addams was here...
Jane Addams was here in Emporia? I should have enjoyed meeting her. I have the most tremendous respect for her achievements.
Well, she was only here for one night.
And what was she like?
She was thrilling. Absolutely thrilling. Do you know she's being called the most dangerous woman in America now just because she speaks up for people who can't speak up for themselves? Isn't that disgusting?
It most certainly is. You know, I heard her once. I was in New York on vacation. I happened to see a notice of her appearance in the paper. When she stood on that stage and described the working conditions for men and women who had come here from Europe full of hope, only to end up slaving in sweatshops, trying to make enough to pay the rent on tenement flats full of roaches. She took the audience with her. I was quite carried away. As a matter of fact, I fear we're digressing. Impertinence to a teacher cannot be tolerated. I hope you understand that.
Mary, was he very mad?
No.
Is he going to call you father?
No, he just told me what he had to.
Had to? What do you mean?
He's really a very nice man. But he's like everybody else around here. As soon as he starts being human, he remembers who he's supposed to be.
What?
Forget it. Hi, Ellie.
Mary, can I talk to you for a minute?
Sure.
After you loaned me 20 years at Hull House, I kept trying to imagine what Jane Addams was really like. I even read the book 10 or 12 times just trying to picture her. Is she beautiful?
Yeah, she's really beautiful. Inside, I mean. She wrote an inscription in my book. I'll show it to you if you like.
Okay.
She's the most exciting woman. She's brave. She's really brave.
What are you two girls doing? You know you're not allowed to be in the hall after the bell.
Where are you going?
Come on, we have to go to class.
Oh, you go. I've had enough for one day.
You mean you're just gonna walk out?
This is a public school. That means it belongs to the people. Well, it doesn't. I can't speak the truth here. We can't even have a conversation when we want to.
I know. I really wanted to talk to you, but I'll get in trouble if I stay.
Does it hurt much?
Not like when the doctor said it.
Here you are.
No thanks. Maybe later. I'm not hungry now.
Oh, don't put another record on just yet, Will. I think we should talk.
All right. Floor is yours.
Mary, I hope you'll understand what I'm going to say. I've thought about it for a long time, and I realized today I just couldn't let it go on any longer. Something has to be done about your accidents.
Now, Sally, come on, let's not get carried away. Practically no one goes through childhood without breaking something. I had 2 broken legs before I was 12.
You never told me that. How'd you get them?
I don't want to talk about your father. I want to talk about you. I'm frightened, Mary. Every time you go out on that horse of yours, I worry until you get back. You ride too fast.
That's silly. I got hurt today just standing still.
No, Mary, you got hurt because you were cranking the car too fast. Now, I've heard your brother warn you about that very thing.
But, Mother, please,
I'm sorry, Mary, but I know what I'm talking about. And I propose to do something about it. Well, I think we should sell Ginger and get Mary a slower mount until she proves that she's responsible enough to take care of herself properly. And as for the car...
No, you can't do that. That's not fair.
Yes, we can, Mary. If you behave like a child, dear, you will be treated like a child. By the same token, if you behave like an adult, you have every right to expect us to treat you as an adult.
That's not fair. You talk to her. She won't listen to me.
No, your mother's right. Neither of us wants you to get hurt.
You didn't think she was right 2 minutes ago.
I hadn't really thought about it 2 minutes ago.
You're just saying that because you think you have to agree with Mother.
I'm sorry you feel that way, Mary, but you're wrong. I wouldn't do such a thing.
Yes, you would. You do it all the time.
That is a very insulting thing to say, and I'm sure you don't mean it.
I do mean it. I don't expect that of you.
At that moment, I hated being human. I wanted to be the god my daughter demanded. And I'm afraid sometimes I let Sally bear the brunt. But first and foremost, I was a man deeply in love with his wife. Look what I found.
Ballade in blue china. Do you remember the day you gave that to me?
4 months from the day we were married.
August 27th, 1893. To my girl. Remember how we sat on the floor and read it aloud to one another?
I certainly do. You were much better at it. Now then, if that egotistical pup of 27 years ago were to come knocking at your door, would you still have him?
If I were still the girl I was then.
What about now?
I wouldn't trade him for the egotistical man I have now.
Thank you very much.
Don't mention it.
Mary always looked up to her brother Bill, and she really brightened up when he unexpectedly came home from Harvard one day.
Mother?
Bill! Oh, what a lovely surprise. For heaven's sakes, why didn't you let us know that you were coming?
Well, I got tired of being good old predictable Bill, so I thought I'd surprise you.
Bill! Bill!
Oh, playing hooky.
Oh, I'm legal.
What happened to you?
I'll tell you later. What's your excuse?
Oh, well, I got lucky on my midterm schedule. I took 3 in a row. Heard Bucky Newland was driving as far as Kansas City, and here I am.
My, you look different.
It's the clothes. Well, you wouldn't want me dressing like a hick and disgracing the family name, would you? And this may come as a shock to you, Mayor, but when you get to college, you're going to have to give up wearing your uniform.
Then I'm not going.
Says you. You'll probably be the first one to go boy crazy and start dressing like a fashion model.
Well, I only hope I live to see that day.
Then you'll have to live to be 100.
Youth, youth. What are you reading here? 20 years at Hull House? Are you trying to memorize this book?
Oh, Mary, not again.
When I loaned it to Ellie Rogers, she read it 12 times. She told me. I'm just looking through it to see if I missed anything.
Who's Ellie Rogers?
Nobody you'd remember.
What does that mean?
She's colored.
Now I know I'm home.
Mrs. White, the Iceman would like a word with you.
Oh, and I'd like several with him.
Now you two behave while I'm gone.
Don't worry, we'll behave. Well, now that women have the vote, I take it this year's project is bigotry.
Just because you're a college man doesn't mean you have to talk down to me. This town is filled with self-satisfied bigots.
Mary, don't be so hard on Emporia. It's the same everywhere else. People are slow to change.
You sound just like Father. He always looks at the other side, unless it's mine.
Look, just wait until you go away to school. Then you'll have some perspective.
On what?
Well, on Father, on this town, on the crazy life this family leads.
Like we're really not small-town people.
That's right. It's one of Father's fantasies. He's just plain Will White, editor of a small-town newspaper, so naturally his children are just small-town children. I mean, after all, doesn't every small-town kid come home from school to find Teddy Roosevelt stopping in for dinner?
Or Jane Addams waiting to autograph a book for her. And of course, everybody goes to Europe and has a father who was there when they signed the Treaty of Versailles.
Of course.
At least he doesn't insist you're Peter Pan.
Well, he'll get over that. I mean, he'll have to. When he sees you with 4 or 5 children hanging onto your skirts calling you mama, even he'll have to give up.
You're just as bad as everybody else. You all assume that all I want to do with my life is get married and have children. Well, first of all, I think we should straighten up the world before any more children are brought into it. And secondly, I'm not planning on getting married. When I find my own road, I'm going to travel it like Jane Addams.
Good for you. And in the meantime, can you get around with that thing?
Yes, where do you want to go?
To the newspaper office.
Then I'll see you later.
Well, don't you want to go?
No. Father's letting Mother punish me for breaking my arm. They're selling my horse and they're not letting me drive the car.
What do you mean he's letting Mother punish you?
Well, he could have stopped her. He didn't agree with her, I could tell. He just thinks that he has to play Father, the way he plays William Allen White, small-town philosopher.
Look, Mary, he's a great man, but he's not perfect. Stop pushing him so hard.
You did to go to Harvard.
Well, that was different.
I helped you.
Those two. They fought like all brothers and sisters, but when one of them decided to take on the parents, the other instantly joined forces. I have to admit that what Bill said that night, a year and a half before he enrolled in Harvard, was a bit of a shock.
And that's why I don't want to go back to Kansas University. I know it was your school, Father, but did you know they only have 2 books in my whole fraternity house? Tarzan of the Apes and a very well-worn copy of Kraft Ebing. The guy who owns Tarzan is trying to trade it off for a pony translation of Hannibal in the Alps. But I want to go where people talk things over. And Harvard's the place for that.
Aren't you proud of him, Father? Harvard's much harder than KU.
You know, it seems to me you should get more than enough talk right here at this table.
Well, it's pretty one-sided. I think a man should be exposed to more than one point of view, don't you, Father?
Well, you know very well there's only one way I can answer that question, but Bill, Harvard is not the only repository of knowledge in the world. I even managed to dig some out right here in Kansas.
But that was before. The world's changing. There's so much more to learn now.
Sally, will you fetch my shawl and my slippers? There's a bit of a breeze out here. We have to be careful of that at my age.
Look, now, we don't mean it that way.
Oh, don't you? Sometimes watching a child grow up fills a man with pride. And there are other times when it can be quite painful. I found that out for the first time when the author J.M. Barrie visited us.
Even your American air smells young and aggressive. It's very stimulating.
Well, I suppose it's all in what you get used to. I was never so stimulated in my life as when Mrs. White and I visited you in London. It was partly you, of course, but the rest was the air, full of history.
Oh, good. Let's put the plates down right here, Bill, please.
I hope everyone's hungry. It looks like Martha thought she was cooking for an army.
Mary, food's ready. Food's ready.
Will,
You've done such marvelous work, but of all your plays, I like Peter Pan the best. Doesn't she remind you of Peter?
A bit. I must say I'm surprised at your preference. I wrote Peter Pan for children, you know.
Ah, but there's so much more in it. The wonderful knowledge that a world full of people who never grow up would be a world full of innocence and joy.
Well, I'm immensely flattered. I didn't know all that was there. But if it is, it's purely an accident. I don't subscribe to that sentiment, really. No, I'm more inclined to believe that most of the troubles in the world can be laid squarely at the feet of people who never grow up.
I quite agree.
I think you're pulling my leg.
No, indeed I'm not. No, I'm not a romantic at all. I simply use a romantic style to express my feelings.
Of all your plays, my favorite play is What Every Woman Knows.
Indeed. I would have thought it was a bit sophisticated for you.
Don't underestimate her, Sir James. Lately, she's been telling me which books she thinks I'll understand.
Only after she consults with me.
So I take it you don't share your father's enthusiasm for Peter Pan.
It's a lovely play for children.
There, you see what I mean? I can just hear Peter saying that. He always took himself so seriously.
So does Charles Evans Hughes.
No politics here.
Now, Bill.
Do I detect a mutiny in the ranks?
I wouldn't call it mutiny, maybe just a touch of insubordination.
Aye, quite right, too. Every young man is duty-bound to disagree with his father. You see, I'm a realist at heart. Truth is what is.
I can't believe you mean that. Truth is what should be.
See what I mean? That's why he thinks I'm Peter Pan, because he wants me to be.
Now, Mary.
I think that courage is one of the most heroic of emotions. It takes great courage to think for oneself. I must congratulate you, both of you, on the way you've raised your children.
Why, thank you, Sir James. Unfortunately, the results can be painful sometimes.
Yes, somehow, a parent always thinks that an independent child will end up agreeing with the very great wisdom of the parent.
Well, don't despair, Father. It may happen yet.
I'll never think truth is what should be.
There she was again, my Mary, the realist. Jane went off to Europe, but her spirit stayed behind. She put a burr under Mary's saddle, all right. Mary was itching to take that first step. And she did. And she took it right here with the pastor, John Rice. He never knew what hit him.
Here we are, Mary. Ladies, Mary has decided to switch from our missionary group to your committee this year. Mrs. Pettigrew, have you got a job for her?
Well, that's sweet of you, my dear, but between us, we've pretty much got the menu covered. The old people out at the home like their Christmas dinner to be the same every year.
I don't want to cook. I'm sure you're all much better at that than I am.
Well, perhaps you might organize the delivery of the food on Christmas Day. Would you like to do that?
Surely. Alone?
Well, naturally, we get some strong young men to help you. I'm sure if you're anything like my daughter, you'd like that.
Yeah. Why don't we all go?
Well, that's hardly necessary. There won't be that much to carry.
No. Why don't we all go? Why doesn't each person on this committee take the food she's made and stay and eat Christmas dinner with the people at the home?
Well, it isn't done that way. Now, if you'd like to deliver...
Well, just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it can't. It's nice of all of you to do that cooking, but it's so cold, impersonal. I'll bet the people at the home would like to see you as well as your baskets of food. It's unchristian.
The day William Allen White shows up at the county home, I'll be there, too.
Now, ladies, Mary just isn't familiar with our procedures.
Really?
Mary, wait.
You think I'm wrong, too.
I respect your motives, but I don't agree with your methods. Giving can't be ordered. It must come from the heart.
That sounds like one of my father's editorials. He writes and you preach. I joined the church to get something done.
Now, the Women's Committee is getting something done. Now, the fact that they're not doing it the way you would like them to doesn't make their contribution less.
In other words, you're not going to help me.
I have a whole congregation to consider. You're not the only one.
No wonder my father doesn't go to church.
Now, slow down. Now, a minute ago, you were lumping the two of us together. Now it's you and him against me. Mary, I know you want to help. We all do, each in our own way. Sometimes that way takes a long time to find. Have a little patience.
No. I'm sorry, but I'll find my own way without the Women's Committee.
You're thinking she was a pretty fresh kid, aren't you? Well, she was. But it came out of a real love for people who never seemed to get a break. I can remember feeling pretty much the same way at her age, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if you did, too. I guess the Lord had it figured out pretty well. If kids knew how tough it is to change the smallest thing, they'd never have the heart to think they could change the world. She really upset the pastor, though.
Morning, Sam. Morning, Al.
Put it on the desk. Go away.
It's not the warmest welcome I've ever had.
John, I'm sorry. Come on in. Sit down. I gotta warn you, this is not a day to preach brotherly love to me. I'm not even sure I like you. Ever have a day when you'd rather kick your fellow man than help him?
Answering as a clergyman, never. As a fellow human being, occasionally.
You know, don't you, that Joe Endicott and that ragtag of Ku Klux Klan idiots he consorts with are planning a parade down the main street of town night after next?
I thought we'd seen the last of that nonsense.
No, sirree. They're coming complete with signs, burning crosses, and white nightgowns. That piece of paper I threw away was my 5th attempt at an editorial trying to show them up as the asses they are.
Will, I want to talk to you about Mary.
Well, good. That's bound to be a more pleasant subject.
Usually I'd agree with you, but not this time. I'm feeling very human about her. As a matter of fact, I'd like to put her across my knee and spank her.
Well, John, you better go back to being a clergyman. If you tried to spank her, she'd probably hit you back.
I'm serious, Will. I'm very angry with her.
Made you feel guilty, didn't she?
She told you about it.
No, but when she said she was joining the Christmas committee, I figured it was bound to happen sooner or later. I'm glad she's doing it to you for a change.
Well, she's got me talking to myself. Do you think maybe I don't see the forest, the trees?
John, Mary's gifted. She has the intelligence of a woman and the heart of a child. That's a real Peter Pan. Unfortunately for us, we've grown up. Now, John, don't take it to heart. There's not a person in this world can live up to Mary's expectations.
I guess you're right, Will. I just wanted to talk it over. Thank you.
Okay, see you later.
Good morning,
Here she
dear.
comes, the slayer of dragons.
Ta-da. Morning.
Good morning, Mary. Your father was just giving me an eyewitness report of what happened at the parade last night. Must have been very funny.
Why aren't you laughing?
It's probably because I'm not a very good reporter.
Oh, stop fishing for compliments, Will.
Oh, the sage of Emporia would never stoop to such depths.
That'll be enough of that. More respect, please.
Mary, do you remember the night when you convinced us you were responsible enough to drive the car?
It was a pretty good piece of salesmanship, wasn't it?
Well, growing up brings more than privileges. It also brings obligations. Now, that prank last night, no matter how we feel about the Klan, was not very responsible.
Oh, now, come on, Sally. You should have been there. It was the prank of the century. Well, gotta get to my study. Come along, Sally. We've got a lot of proofing to do.
I'll be right there, dear. You know, Mary, you can't have it both ways. If you want your father and me to take you seriously, you're going to have to give up some of the freedoms of childhood.
Well, then I guess I don't understand the difference.
Sally?
Later, dear. He's calling me.
Coming, Will.
Last summer, when Bill came home for vacation, we were all together again. But even then, Mary refused to be anything but the free spirit she was.
Now, don't forget, she'll try and put you off by being as tomboyish as possible. Just ignore it.
I hope you know I wouldn't do this for anyone else but you.
Hey, pal. Here we go. Mother!
Bill, you're early. How lovely.
This is my friend, Richard Sloan.
How do you do, Mrs. White?
We're so pleased that you can come.
Thank you.
For heaven's sakes, come inside, both of you. Well, you both must be parched. How about some lemonade?
You have just been offered nectar of the gods. Say yes.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, Bill, it's only lemonade.
Not when you make it.
You better not walk around town dressed like that. Otherwise, somebody's going to see you and put you in an envelope and mail you back to the Harvard Lampoon.
Oh. See what I mean?
You must be Bill's sister. I'd know you anywhere.
How?
Mary, this is Richard Sloan, my roommate at Harvard.
How do you do?
Hello.
Oh, you going riding?
Yes, would you like to come?
Well, how about it, Dick?
Fine.
We can borrow a horse for you. He's gentle, or do you ride horses at Harvard, Mr. Sloan?
Mary, Mr. Richard Sloan III's family have been raising horses since they arrived on the Mayflower.
Well, the only thing I like better than Mother's lemonade is a good ride. And I'd like to see Mr. Sloan handle one of our Kansas horses.
Well, it'd be my pleasure, Miss White.
Okay, Mr. Sloan, you know the course. You have to touch base at the amphitheater, down by the river, go through the creek, over to the clump of bushes over there, then through the arbor, and we finish here. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, go.
Well, better luck next time, Miss White.
And there will be a next time, Mr. Sloan.
All right.
Bill chose his friends very well. And finally, even Mary had to admit that.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we had gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
John,
this is for you. Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas, John.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, John.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you, Bill.
Huh?
Where are you going?
Oh, Mary's volunteered to deliver Christmas dinner to the county home.
Oh, good. Who's going to help you?
Pastor Rice said he'd round up some strong boys.
Well, I'm a strong boy. Why, there are even those who would say I'm the equal of 2 strong boys.
I don't think it's your cup of tea.
Well, I'd be interested in hearing what you think my cup of tea might be.
Country club dances, regattas, things like that.
Oh, Mary.
No, it's all right, Mrs. White. I know that your daughter thinks I'm a lightweight.
Well, aren't you?
Why don't you try me and see?
Okay, get your coat and let's go.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, Bill.
Drive carefully.
Thank you,
We will.
Take care, you two.
I think maybe Mary's met her match.
Doesn't it? Merry Christmas.
I like your young man, dear. He has lovely manners. Is he a local boy? I've been out here so long I've lost touch with the town.
He's not my young man. He's a friend of my brother Bill's from Harvard.
Oh, I haven't been here that long. The way he's looking at you.
How long have you been here?
Long enough to learn to mind our own business.
Don't mind him. He only talks about once a year, and we're all very grateful.
I just read a wonderful book. Would you like to read it?
No?
How about painting? Have you ever tried watercolors?
No?
What do you like to do?
I like to eat Christmas dinner with company of my own choosing.
Sorry.
Mary.
I was only trying to help.
And you are helping, dear. Don't let a crotchety old man spoil your day. Everyone else is having a wonderful time.
That was some experience. You should be very proud of yourself. Come on now. You're not going to let that old buzzard get to you, are you?
He was right.
What do you mean?
I waltzed in there like the Queen of England, scattering largesse to the peasants. I invaded his privacy.
Mary, you can't bleed for the whole world. He was just one of the people who doesn't want you to try.
Wasn't it awful? Do you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to hit him.
I know. When you came back with more stuffing, I was afraid you might pour it on his head. Mary, if it's all right with Bill and your parents, I'd like to come back here for spring vacation. How would you feel about that?
I think it's wonderful. Bill's very fond of you.
Well, what about you? Are you ready to stop calling me Richard Sloan III?
I'm ready for that, but
You're not ready to Say, please come back, Richard, because I want you to.
Is it important that I do?
It is, to me.
Okay. Please come back, Richard. Because I want you to.
Mary was very much like her mother. Neither of them knew or wanted to know how to flirt. When I met Sally, she liked me and she let me know it. And Mary was the same way, whether it was Richard Sloane III or Tom Knight, the Gazette carrier.
Okay, come on, Tom. Give him to me now.
I could take them out your desk for you, you know.
If you don't stop treating me like this, I'll...
You what?
I don't know. You just make me feel so helpless.
Well, that's all the thanks I get for being considerate. After all, you're used to riding, not walking this way.
Oh, a little exercise never hurt anybody. Besides, they're letting me have the car back next week.
What about Ginger?
Still off limits. My father says he'll let me know when they think I can be trusted to ride again. Oh, I have to talk to someone. I'll see you later, okay? Ellie, hold on. Wait a minute. I've been thinking about you. We never got a chance to finish our talk.
I know. Maybe we can meet later in the yard.
Oh, bother. Come on in here for a second. We can decide where to meet.
Mary.
Come on.
Mary.
Maybe they should put white only on the door.
Mary.
Be careful. They might put no idiots allowed. Then where would you two go?
You think you're so smart.
What's wrong with you? They insulted you.
Forget it. I'm not wanted in here.
Who said?
It's an unwritten rule.
I never heard of it.
Did you ever see a colored girl in here?
I never noticed. They don't pay much attention to things like that.
Well, most people do. Mary, I've got to go to class.
But, Ellie...
We'll talk about it later, okay?
And I don't remember a single article or editorial about it. How could you let it go by?
Hi, Mary.
Mary, I am just as outraged as you are by senseless cruelty, but segregation is not something that started this morning in the girls' lounge. It's going to take a lot more than an editorial to stop it.
Well, okay, but somebody has to take the first step. Why wasn't it you?
I can't answer that question.
Well, that isn't going to help Ellie very much.
Well, we all do the best we can.
I think we can do better. The undersigned believe that segregation of any kind at Emporia High School is contrary to the principles on which this country was founded. As taxpayers, we demand equal access to facilities for all students, regardless of race, creed, or religion. Well, what do you think?
It's a fine idea, dear, but who do you think will sign it?
You and Father and the men at the paper and Pastor Rice and...
Well, you can count on us and probably Rice, but don't be so sure about my employees. They don't all think like I do.
But they have to sign. Everybody should.
Mary, I don't hold with making a man's private convictions a consideration for employment.
I know how you feel, dear. I used to feel the same way growing up in Kentucky. Come to think of it, I still do. Or I would if your father hadn't taught me the art of the possible.
What's that?
That's reaching for the moon when you know you can't get it and then settling for a piece of it, which is more than you had when you started.
But that's not good enough.
May have to be.
You've put me in a very difficult position, Mary. Oh, you know I agree with you, but this sort of decision isn't up to me. It's up to the school board.
But you're the principal.
And their employee.
Well, does that mean that you can't even sign it? It's really watered down, you know. The first petition I drew up asked for complete integration.
What made you change your mind?
I haven't. Not really, but... Well, Jane Addams talked about a journey of 1,000 miles starting with one step. And my parents talked about the art of the possible. And I don't know, I guess I'm just trying to believe that they're right.
Well, my heart's with you. I wish you luck.
I'd rather have your signature.
I know, but I can't. You made your compromise, and I have to make mine.
But...
I'm sorry. I know when Will White's daughter has a chance to think it over, she'll understand.
I hope I never understand.
Did he sign?
No. I knew he wouldn't. Maybe we should forget the whole thing. No.
Give it to me. I'll take it on my paper route. Maybe I can get some signatures.
That's a good idea. Don't worry, Ellie. Between us, we'll find a way.
I really wish you'd forget it.
What's the matter with you? This is for you. All of this. Don't you care?
I should have known better.
What are you talking about?
If you really want to help, then leave us alone.
Oh, sure, that's a big help. Look, I won't stop. I can't. Just thinking about stopping hurts too much.
Hurts? What do you know about hurt? Living up there in that big house with everything you want and your daddy so famous. You ain't even like other folks in this town. You don't even know your place. If you did, you wouldn't let me talk to you like this. You have nothing to be afraid of. You're William Allen White's daughter.
Jim, take that up to Wally. Let him have a look at it, will you? Harlow, will you excuse us?
Sure, Mr. White.
I hate this town. I hate everybody in it.
I have days like that myself.
Don't make jokes. I'm serious.
I know you are. Well, I'm serious, too, when I feel like that.
Will you stop patronizing me? What do you know about how I feel?
Why don't you tell me?
You've built a wall around us in this town. Nobody even trusts us. Ellie said that I couldn't understand pain because I was William Allen White's daughter. Well, I'm sick and tired of being William Allen White's daughter. I'm me.
Say a word all through dinner. Between your silence and Mary's, I've got heartburn.
Take some bicarb.
I did. It didn't help.
Try hot water.
I don't need medical advice, Will. I need to know what this is all about. First, Mary leaves the table without even a word, and she rides off on a horse she's forbidden to ride, and now you sit here like a sphinx. What's going on?
Mary came by the office today to tell me she was tired of being my daughter.
Well, I'm sure she didn't mean that.
I think she did. I know she did.
Well, you surprise me, Will White. You're the one who's always telling me not to forget my growing up. But it'll help me understand our children better. Didn't you ever say anything in anger that might have hurt your father?
Many times.
Well, that didn't mean you didn't love him, did it?
I'm not talking about love, Sally. I'm talking about like. Mary doesn't like me, and tonight I don't like her.
Thank heaven she's back in one piece.
Mind if I talk to her alone?
Are you sure you want to?
a towel on yourself.
I'm okay.
Don't ever run out again like that, Mary. I don't like it. Hear what I said?
Yes.
You're angry at me, aren't you? Well, that's all right, because I'm angry at you, too, and I don't like the way it feels. Now, what are we going to do about it?
It's just that I can't do anything right.
Well, I wish I could tell you that you're not going to feel like this again, but it wouldn't be true. I don't want any lies between us. And when you told me you were tired of being my daughter, Mary, that hurt like the devil. But at least it was honest.
I didn't mean it. I just meant that...
Wait now. At that moment, I think you did.
I guess you're right. It's just that I can't even remember a time when you and Mother weren't all excited about some cause. I'd hear you down in the living room after I'd gone to bed. You'd be planning some big editorial that would right a wrong or point out to people how blind they were being. And all I ever wanted to do was help, to do what you do. And every time I try, I get it all mixed up so...
Oh, sweetheart, I'm afraid you're just going to have to settle for being a little less than perfect.
I thought that's what you expected of me. Everybody else does.
I doubt that. I think the only one expects you to be perfect is you. Well, if that's what you thought I wanted, then I don't blame you for being tired of being my daughter. Matter of fact, I know just how you feel.
How could you?
Because sometimes I get very tired of being William Allen White. I forget, you see. And I expect him to be perfect, too.
But you were never like me. You didn't start out by wanting to make something better and end up by just making it worse.
Oh, didn't I? Oh, I'd hate to have to tell you how many times I've done just that. And I might even be doing it right now, but I have to take that chance. You see, Mary, that's what it's all about. Being willing to take a chance. You do it. And I hope you never stop.
Do you really mean that?
Lord, have mercy on my soul. Yes, I really mean that.
I'd rather be your daughter than the Queen of England.
Oh, God, I feel good. Got my Peter Pan back. When graduation day comes along in a few weeks, Mary's chair will be empty. She was all ready, though. She even had her dress. Sally and I figured it had to be pretty important to her for her to be willing to go shopping for it. Usually she had to be dragged into a store kicking and screaming.
Oh, Mother, we weren't going that fast.
Good afternoon, Sally. How are you, Mary? Getting excited about graduation?
Nervous is more like it.
We're just starting to shop for her graduation dress.
I bought Jessie's last week. Isn't it a nuisance having to go all the way to Topeka to shop?
Why, Jessie has such a nice figure. I'm surprised you couldn't find something to fit her right here.
Not as long as that's in the window. Hasn't Mr. White instructed you to stay out of these stores?
Why, certainly not. Why should he?
I imagine he has more important things on his mind. Good thing you ran into us. We're all up. What's that we're doing?
Boycotting.
Boycotting all the merchants who support the strike.
Why? Because our husbands say we should.
Well, I don't understand. Neither of your husbands works for railroad management.
My Charles says the Bolsheviks are stirring up the laboring men. They don't really want to strike, you know. They're being forced to by the union agitators.
Well, I think I'd rather take my chances with the Bolsheviks than with the roads to Topeka. Come along, Mary.
Coming, Mother.
Good day, ladies.
Good afternoon. Why, I imagine you've suffered a considerable drop in business due to the strike, haven't you, Mr. Bonner?
Oh, well, I never wanted to get mixed up in this in the first place. I just didn't want to lose my working trade. Anyway, the governor's just passed a law. He's put out an injunction prohibiting those placards. Oh, it's sure a relief to me. Well, come for your graduation dress, have you?
Well, what were the shopmen striking for?
All the freedom to choose their union. I want to support them, but I can't afford to have it cost me my business. How does that one strike you, Mrs. White?
Oh, that's rather pretty. What do you think, Mary?
You mean to say that just to sell a few dresses, you're willing to let all those families starve?
I've got a family to feed, too.
Mary, please, let's get back to our business. Good afternoon, Miss Butler.
Hello, Sarah.
Will?
Ah, good. You came exactly the right minute. Just getting ready to go home.
Oh, Mary drove me downtown.
Uh-oh. Well, I'll probably walk. I need the exercise. Ben,
Daddy.
you put this up in our window, please?
Oh, you're too late, Will. The governor just obtained an injunction forbidding the posting of that sign.
I know it. That's why I'm going to put up a bigger one, make sure everybody can see it.
When they come to arrest you, should I tell them they'll find you at home?
Yes, indeed.
Arrest? Will, they wouldn't do that, would they?
No, I'm afraid not. They know that's exactly what I want them to do. I want this to be a test case. They know darn well it'll never stand up in court. Clear infringement of civil liberties.
If the governor ignores you, why don't we all drive down to Topeka and march up and down in front of the Capitol with a sign?
That wouldn't be breaking the law. The injunction prohibits the sign from being placed in shop windows.
It's not fair. That skinflint Bonner's going to get away with it. Why don't we boycott him for taking the sign down?
Because that's an infringement of his civil liberty.
He doesn't deserve to have any.
Mary, if civil liberties were only available to those people we approved of, we'd all be at the mercy of every crackpot that comes along.
Then why aren't you fighting for Ellie?
I am. You know I wrote that article on segregation.
I am not talking about writing. I'm talking about doing.
Well, Mary, when you get to be a little older...
If getting older means putting words before actions, I hope I die young. I'm sorry.
I love your spirit, you know that. I hope you keep it all your life.
Will, she's serious.
Of course she is. That's what makes her Mary. I had written a novel called In the Heart of a Fool. And I was quite flattered when an offer was made by the infant film industry to make it into a motion picture. And when the filming was done, I was invited to New York to view the results. Well, Sally and I agreed that Mary and I needed some time alone together, so I invited her to come along. Well, our trip was a lark from the minute we pulled out of here. Trains have always fascinated me, and Mary shared that feeling. She was so excited, so alive, so eager to drink in new experiences, and so iconoclastic.
You really can't get the full effect without the music. When it shows in the theater, a piano player will be pounding out the Stars and Stripes forever.
Yes, well, that ought to help quite a lot.
You really shouldn't take the money for this. They haven't used your story at all.
Well, what do you think? Well, Mr. Stoner, I'm afraid that...
Look, Mr. White, you're a great writer, maybe the greatest. But the printed page is not the screen.
But what we just saw had no relationship.
You're being too literal, little lady. See, what goes up on the screen is the director's vision of what the story is all about.
Well, if that's his vision of my father's book, he needs glasses.
That will do. All right. Goodness, time flies when you're enjoying yourself. Mr. Stoner, you're just going to have to excuse us. We're late for an appointment. Come along, Mary.
For an appetizer, may I suggest the escargot?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I'd love some.
The last time you were served escargot, you just stared at them.
I was only 10 years old then.
One order of escargot.
Very good, sir.
Thank you.
I could have ordered for myself, you know.
I'm sorry, would you rather have something else?
No.
Miss White, may I please have this dance?
Certainly, Mr. White.
Now, if I step on your foot, you just pinch me. That's what your mother always does. What did you really think of the motion picture? Or shouldn't I ask?
Well, it was...
It was an experience.
Yeah, it certainly was. It was awful.
Mary, I wish you'd stop beating around the bush like that. Are they good?
Delicious.
Well, when you finish those, I can order you some more if you like.
Daddy,
Yes, Mary?
I think you should sue them, the motion picture people.
Well, now, wait a minute. I thought they showed great taste. Mr. Stoner called me the greatest writer in the world. And I'm going to put that on my list right under the Sage of Emporia. Have you finished, miss?
Yes. for me.
I concede you're too good for me. You coming down with a cold?
Let's play another game. I'll let you beat me.
Wouldn't get much pleasure out of that, would I?
Well, I seem to remember you used to let me beat you.
Yes, well, that's different. You were a little girl. You knew I was throwing the game?
Oh, not at first, but, when I got to be about 12.
Oh, come on. I didn't do it that long, did I?
For all I know, you may still be doing it. Either that or you're a rotten player.
No, my mind wasn't on it. I was starting to compose a letter to Will Hayes.
The Postmaster General?
No. He's the one that got me into this motion picture deal. It's all he ever talks about. He thinks they're the coming things.
What are you gonna say?
I don't know. I've got some ideas, and get home, I'll talk them over to your mother, sort them out. What was that for?
It's like I'm not even here.
What are you talking about?
I saw that awful picture show with you, not Mother. Why do you have to wait until you can talk to her?
Well, it's the way I always do it. You know I share all my work with your mother. It has nothing to do with you.
But I want it to.
Mary, there are some things that just have to wait.
What, till I'm older? Is that what you're gonna say? How much older do I have to be, 100? I have a brain, I have opinions. I may not be a woman yet, but I'm not a child either. I can't wait for you to see that because you never will.
Mary, it just seems that way to you. I remember when I was growing up.
When Mother was my age, she was teaching school. You were working at the newspaper. You didn't consider yourself a child then, did you?
Mary, your mother was forced to miss her childhood. I don't want you to miss yours. Now, thank goodness you don't have to.
Daddy, if that's all you're worried about, please don't. I had a wonderful childhood. The best any girl could ever want. But it's over now. Can't you see that? Can't you look at me for once and really see that?
All right. What do you think I should say to him?
Well, first of all, the audience isn't made up of morons. If people pay to be entertained, they should get what they've paid for. Real entertainment shouldn't glaze your eyes. It should stimulate your mind.
Maybe I can rephrase that.
What's wrong with it?
Nothing. Go on, what else?
Tell them that if they think enough of a book to pay good money for it, they should respect the author's thoughts. Writers think up the stories, for heaven's sake. Not only that, how do they know that the audience won't like...
Just wait now. Let's go back to your first thought.
Don't be so gentlemanly. You said you hated the picture show. Now you're writing that you're disappointed with it.
You're right. We'll call a spade and let the devil take the hindmost.
Thank you.
From the time Mary and I got back from New York, the current of my public life nearly swept away all memory of those few minutes when my daughter and I knew and respected each other as people. Miss White? You buy me a soda?
My pleasure.
Get my hat. I'll stand behind this editorial.
Of course you will, dear.
Damn the follett. It's bad enough we didn't join the League of Nations. Now, if we don't get a world court, we're in for 100 years of war. children of this country deserve a better legacy than that.
Speaking of children, what's happening between you and Mary?
There's no end to the idiocy of some of the politicians in this country. It's a good thing we're a strong people because we have to be to survive some of our leaders. What about Mary?
Well, when the two of you came back from New York, I noticed a great difference in her.
I'm glad. Sally, what am I going to do about La Follette?
When you calm down, Will, you'll know.
Sally was right, as usual. I decided to go to Washington and debate La Follette. I left on a warm spring day.
I wish I were going with you.
Not this time. This trip is no place for a lady. I anticipate some strong language.
Well, Will, now you're a much more effective speaker when you don't get excited.
No.
Mary, where are you going?
I forgot something in the car.
I've been thinking about her. When I get back, I'm going to try to treat her as if she weren't a child. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get behind that drive of hers to get the lounge for those colored girls.
Oh, Will, I'm so glad I'll tell her.
No, don't. I don't think words are going to be enough. I'm going to have to prove it.
Just to remind you.
That is first rate. You have the makings of a fine political cartoonist, Sally. Now, don't you ride Ginger too fast when I'm gone.
But what about the...
Letting you ride faster again? Well, maybe when I get back, we'll talk about it.
No, no, we won't. I just can't stand the strain. Now, every time you ride fast, Mary, I expect to hear that you've been thrown.
I've never been thrown from a horse in my life.
It was a close call. I couldn't go anywhere without my talisman, could I? Well, I'm off.
Hurry back, will you?
I will. Bye.
I love you.
That was the last picture I had of Mary. When I came home, she was dead. Her funeral yesterday at the Congregational Church was as she would have wished it. No singing, no flowers, save for a big bunch of red roses from her brother Bill's Harvard classmen. Heavens, how proud that would have made her. And the red roses from the Gazette force in vases at her head and feet. A short poem. Paul's beautiful essay on love from the 13th chapter of 1 Corinthians. Some remarks about her democratic spirit from her friend, John H.J. Rice, pastor and police judge, which she would have deprecated if she could. A prayer sent down for her by her friend, Carl Now, and opening the service, the slow, poignant movement from Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, which she loved. Then the Lord's Prayer by her friends in the high school. That was all.
Mary was the embodiment of those things that in the lives of young people are essential. She was the outstanding champion of the down and out and the pure of heart. Her emotions and her instincts led her into a finer region of human living. She always stood for things that were worthwhile and gave herself unafraid the person or the cause that needed and deserved a friend. It is such personalities who stand in the breach when the right things are in danger and who become the law to the life that has no law in itself. And so we shall remember Mary White, a Democrat, unafraid, with a great heart and a strong, clean mind and a dominating will. We will miss you, Mary. And now, Mary's classmates from Emporia High School will deliver the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Mother's waiting for me, but there was something I wanted to tell you alone. I know in my heart that you would have made a fine woman. A woman that both of us could love and respect. I want you to know that. But I want you to understand that if I write about you as my Peter Pan, my free spirit that'll never grow up. That's who you were to me. And now that's how you will always be. Good night, Mary. You sleep well. Finished it.
Associated Press reports carrying the news of Mary White's death declare that it came as the result of a fall from a horse. How she would have hooted at that. She never fell from a horse in her life. Horses have fallen on her and with her. I'm always trying to hold them in my lap, she used to say. But she was proud of few things, and one was that she could ride anything that had 4 legs and hair.
A rift in the clouds in a gray day threw a shaft of sunlight upon her coffin as her nervous, energetic little body sank to its last sleep. But the soul of her, the glowing, gorgeous, fervent soul of her surely was flaming in eager joy upon some other dawn.